let's go someplace that I'd love your insight on, which is China. So when I think about the robot industry, I'm tracking 50 plus well-funded humanoid robot companies in different stages around the world. Um, Majority are US and China. There's some in Europe. You started in Norway. There are some in India, parts in Japan, and Korea. But China, by far, I think is dominating. And what I see there with the robot Olympics and special robot villages is pretty extraordinary. Where the Chinese government is really accelerating this for obvious reasons. They need access to low-cost labor to continue the manufacturing boom. They need it for supporting their elderly population. Um, how do you think about China? What do you think of the work coming out of China?
Well, I think, first of all, I think we need the same thing here.
We need the same kind of support.
We don't kind of like realize it maybe as much, but of course we need the same thing.
Yeah.
I think the Chinese ecosystem is incredible. I mean, I don't know anywhere else in the world where you can go and like develop hardware as fast. It's just right. You need something, and you go over and get a machine on the corner here. Something broken in PCB, and you just like go over the street and like buy some new components. There's someone doing a reflow over on the street corner over there, and like it's this incredible ecosystem that I think the Bay. I say the Bay now, but I know it's also like, I mean, the Silicon Valley, like the hardware Bay in Shenzhen area, is also a Bay, but Silicon Valley Bay, this Bay, we have a long way to go if we want to like really get to the same level of rapid iteration on hardware. That's just incredible. I think the manufacturing part is incredible. It's just so much process knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is highly underrated. Like, think about magnets.
I do.
So do I a lot.
Mm.
We have great material scientists that know how magnets work and can design very good magnets. But then we lack that guy that knows that, you do all of that stuff that they told you in the books, but after 2 hours, you have to stir to the left, not to the right. There's just so much of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is just so disseminated in China. There's so much process knowledge.
How did that evolve in China and not here? What's the cause?
Top-down incentives.
Funding?
I think it's the government saying, you're a robot city, you're a neodymium magnet city, and just capital and people and just, communist directed, but then allowing companies to build on top of that. Mm-hmm. I mean, is that what you see as well or not?
I'm not sure. I think like the Chinese startup community is very alive, right? And the capital is quite alive. And I feel it runs very similar to kind of like more of like what we like to think of as like the Bay here.
I used to take a group of investors every year to China, and we would go and visit Shenzhen and Shanghai and Hong Kong and Beijing and meet with Baidu and Tencent and Huawei and the leadership of all these. And there was a super vibrant entrepreneurial community, right? The mindset was 996. You'd work 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week, and that was a great lifestyle. And you considered the 1.3 billion people in China your market, and the 300 million in America your market as well. But there was a fall off after 2019, and there was a real dip in that ecosystem. I think it's beginning to reemerge, but I think the government is really pushing hard on supporting AI, and humanoid robots is a embodiment of AI. They're obviously, this, they're cleanly meshed. So I do think there's a lot more support that the U.S. government needs to give to U.S.
100%
hardware companies.
But I think like what I wanted to say was also just like, I think the most genius thing they did was the economic zones, like the free economic zones.
Sure.
Like, it's not that people here don't want to build stuff, and we want to build stuff. It's just it takes too long and costs too much, and it's too convoluted, right?
We do it in spite of the challenges.
Yeah, I think the US should just like spin up some free economic zones. Like here you have like expedited permitting, and
in California in particular, it'd be a no-brainer to do that. That's the the simplest, best idea ever, but I don't know what it would take to get it through.
No, I mean, like,
I-
but this is some of like what people are working on these days, right? Like, if you look at like NASA's dream for Project Crystal Land, for example, it's very similar to this kind of like a free economic zone in the US.
I think there's another problem you need to solve too, though, which is that the U.S. just did suffer for forever, and we were not only not doing hardware, we just didn't do chips. Like the
Well,
chips
not forever. We're in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, where's the silicon?
There was
we're
just
not
like,
making silicon.
yeah.
What's up
So
with that?
there was a phase in between here where people kind of like they lost the way,
Yeah.
they lost the plot,
Yeah.
and now we have to find
Well,
the
and
plot
the venture
back.
community got all
Yeah.
messed up too because they wouldn't fund. If you had a physical component in your business plan, they'd be like, "Well, I'm looking for the next Meta or Google.
Yeah, hardware's
I don't
hard.
really care. Like, yeah, hardware's hard.
Well,
yeah.
I've been doing this I've been keeping this company afloat for 10 years, so I can, I can,
You've got
I
scars.
can go on and on
yeah,
about
well,
like
do go
how,
on and on because it needs
but
to
like
get
how
fixed.
how much people are afraid of hardware,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
But
it's going to kill us if we don't find a solution. And get
I think
over
also
it.
it's gonna like kill VC. To be honest,
Yeah.
I think people like if you look at return of venture, it used to be incredible, right? If you got to be an LP in a venture, you're like, oh man, I'm like set, right? I'm
Yeah.
gonna make the big bucks.
And now it's 10
Now
years
it's
and no
more-
return. It's awful.
And now it's more like a philanthropy thing. You want to fund startup entrepreneurs because venture doesn't really make that much money. And I think it has a lot to do with
Except at Link, you guys are doing amazing. We are doing amazing.
that is good.
Yeah,
That's
I
good.
know the
But
data.
you guys touch the hard stuff. The point is, if you don't touch the hard stuff,
touch
what's your moat?
We touch the early stuff, right? So it's first checks into companies that then are scaling rapidly versus companies that are doing
But
late
we're not.
stage.
We're doing first checks into hard stuff at the seed stage, but we're not doing hardware. So I'm as much part of the problem as we were talking. Like, what if somebody came to me with a seed stage hard physical device problem, and we very rarely will fund that, and that's a dysfunction. Right?
Well,
It's
you
like-
should look at what's the biggest companies. They all have hardware.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Elon cracked the code on that. I mean, he's been able to just make hardware sexy and has generated incredible returns.
Yeah, I think Jensen says it really well, right? They want to work on the really hard problems that are super painful, that you are uniquely capable of, because you know that your competitors have to go through the same pain or more, and they're not going to be willing to take as much pain as you. This is how you win. And
I'll give
things
infinite
here are
props.
actually defensible, right? The moat we have on hardware,
Yeah.
that's years. The moat we have, I'm incredibly proud of our AI team, by the way. We've accomplished some things that are so amazing on such a budget.
Yeah.
So we're way ahead of everyone else on what we're doing on world models.
Yeah.
So let's say we're 3 months ahead, right? Exactly, because like
Way ahead.
But
that is way ahead.
You're incredibly rare, and all props to Elon. He's incredible. But Elon's pathway to getting to hardware was through PayPal.
Yeah, sure.
A couple $100 million, burned it all himself, got down to near bankruptcy, was almost dead on both of his big, Tesla and SpaceX, barely pulled it out, and then made them huge. But the VCs were not touching it.
Yeah. He had to borrow money in 2008 in a divorce, with SpaceX having its third failure.
Yeah,
trying
that
to borrow
is
money for
not
his
a
fourth
repeatable
launch.
funding model
Yeah.
for America. That's
I
not.
was very lucky. I had a very good like early founding investor. I said like the company didn't start in a garage because we're not Silicon Valley. We started in a barn because we were Norwegian.
Yeah.
And at some point, 2 years later, he sold the farm, so we had to move. He sold the farm to fund the company.
Huh.
Right?
So you would, this company
amazing.
in Silicon Valley wouldn't exist without a Norwegian investor.
No. And also, we
believing in
wouldn't
your
exist
vision.
because we wouldn't have had the runway, right? Operating this in Norway was just incredibly cheap compared to
So
operating. here.
your initial Norwegian investor, did he or she believe that they were going to make a huge amount of money, or did they do it because they're passionate about your vision and your mission?
Or are they believing in you?
yeah,
I think it's all three. All three.
Yeah.
And it turned out pretty well.
yeah, well, yeah, but but it wasn't here. That's the point.
No.
I'm making.
But
It's
like, I mean,
like
there are different phases, right? If you want to scale something, you have to come here.
Yeah.
I think you can do deep research in other parts of the world. There's talent everywhere, but really kind of like hyper scaling that and like getting it across the finish line, that's here.